Hello everyone, welcome to Rachel Pichler Yoga. In case we haven't met before, my name is Rachel. Today we're doing a nice full body flexibility practice. I am going to use a couple blocks today, but you could also use a pillow instead. You're going to need just a little bit of space to move, and let's get started. So let's begin laying down today. If you do want to lay on something, whether that is a couple blocks or a pillow, that is up to you. You can also just lay flat on your back. You can maybe make a diamond shape with your legs if you want to get into your hips. Taking your time, especially if you are laying on blocks, make sure that you feel balanced and supported. We can bring our arms out nice and wide, let your palms face up. Close your eyes, taking a deep breath in and out. Just allowing yourself to slow down your day. Just tune into your breath. Let everything else go. Tune out everything else. We're going to stay here for a few more moments. Should you have a block under your head that you might want to remove, to let your head fall back and bring some length into the front of the neck. Your arms might stay at your sides or they might reach above your head. And stay for just another breath. And then you can start to move. We'll just take our pillows or our blocks out from under us. Move them off to the side so that you can lay flat on your back. Either planting your feet or hugging your knees in towards your chest, but you could add a gentle rock side to side. Take a moment to notice the sensations running through your body, especially if you were lifted up on something while we were laying down. If your feet are lifted right now, let's bring them back down as well. I'm going to take a block, you could use your pillow, sliding it underneath our hips. So if you can keep your knees bent and your feet planted here, you can do that. We might also curl our toes, so try to rest on the top of your toes. Maybe it ends up just being your big toe. You can do one foot at a time, or you can do both. So if your hips are resting on top of something, it's a little easier to curl the toes and rest on the top of them. But if you don't have anything to rest your hips on, you may still be able to do this with your hips on your mat. It can be a nice deep stretch the lower your hips are to your mat. But if you're doing 1 foot at a time, let's switch sides. If you're doing both, we can stay. And if your toes are curled under right now, let's let that go. Plant your feet again, bend your knees. I'm going to give you guys an option here to either keep your hips lifted or to bring them back down to your mat, because we're going to cross our left foot over top of the right leg. So think of figure 4. Might be a little bit weird though if your hips are resting on a block or a pillow. So if you have your hips down, you can lift your legs up, you can hold your legs, hug them towards the chest. But if you're using the block today or a pillow, I just want you to think about letting the knee, the left knee, fall towards the ground. You might flex your foot, the one that's resting on top of the right leg, and let your left leg get heavy. How do your hips feel? You might even place your hands on your hips. And we'll just take another breath on this side. And we can uncross our legs. Staying on the block, almost done with the block under our hips. But crossing your right foot over the left, figure 4. Again, if you don't have your block or anything under your hips, you can lift that left leg. You can hug your legs towards your chest. But if you have the block or a pillow, think about letting the right knee this time get a little heavier towards the ground. It might not actually move, just something to think about. Maybe placing your hands on your hips, just to bring your mind to them. So that's where you feel the love. Just one more breath here. And then we can let our legs go. Feet can plant, legs can uncross if you have something under your hips. Let's take it out. Connect your low back to your mat. You might hug your knees in. Maybe even adding a couple rocks side to side. Massaging the low back. And then you can decide if you're going to roll over or rock yourself forwards. But we're going to find our way into tabletop, onto our hands and knees. You might want to give your hips a few extra rocks side to side. Shake it out a little bit more. And then let's bring our right foot forwards like we're setting up a lunge. And our knee, I want you to bring your knee really far past your toes. Lift your heel up. That's how far your knee is going past your toes. See if you can find your left hip flexor too. You might push into that back foot a little bit. Lift the knee for a moment. You might have to stagger back slightly so that you find your left hip flexor. Maybe you're just getting an ankle stretch here. That's good too. That's really what we want. You can push into your palms a little, trying to drop your heel down towards your mat, but hopefully it doesn't touch. If it does touch, see if you can bring your knee further past your toes and your heel higher. So that as you try to drop it down, you just get a deeper stretch. Nice work, you guys. Just another breath here. And then we can start to relax. Walk your hands back, drop your heel down, send your hips back to tabletop. Shake it out a little. We will be switching sides. Left foot coming forwards like we're coming into a lunge, and then send your knee really far past your toes so your heel lifts. Maybe pushing into that back foot a little, lift your knee for a moment, try to stagger that knee back just ever so slightly so maybe you can find your right hip flexor. That also helps just to take the weight out of the knee too, As you bring it back down, sometimes it just gets a little bit lighter. And then noticing your left heel. It's lifted. Try to drop it down. Feel the calf, the ankle. A whole lot of good things. Awesome work, you guys. Take one more breath and then you can start to shift back. Plant your hands. Bring your left leg back into your tabletop. If you were really feeling your ankles today, you might want to shake them out a little. Just notice how they feel. We're going to stay on our hands and knees though, and then reach our right arm out in front. Half a puppy dog. So spread your fingers out wide. Find some length through your arm, and then melt your chest down and maybe your right cheek. Your left hand can stay at your side for support. Stay for just another breath. Use an inhale to lift. Slide your right hand in. Left arm can reach out. Spread the fingers. Lengthen the arm. And then melt it back down. Half a puppy dog. Maybe the left cheek can touch down this time. Maybe it's your forehead. Take one more breath and then use an inhale to lift yourself back up. Find your tabletop. Take a gentle rock of the shoulders if you're really feeling the love there. We can also meet in child's pose for a few moments. If you want to stack your palms, rest your forehead, soften your shoulders completely. Just notice how you feel. Find your breath. And when you're feeling good to lift up, just sit on your heels for a moment. So I'm going to grab my blocks. We're going to stay seated here on our heels to start. So you might have your feet together. You might open your feet up wider and sit on a block or your pillow. You might have a couple different heights to work with depending on what you've got to use today. But keeping the knees a little closer together, the feet might be out wider. You don't have to sit on anything. You might sit between your feet. And then I'm actually going to bring my blocks behind me, both of them. And similar as to how I started, and maybe you did too, you might have one block under your back, under your chest, and then another block under your head. But you can also stay seated. Be nice to your knees. Be slow moving here, especially if you are using blocks, and moving them to the perfect place. And we'll spend just a little bit of time here. So if you're like me and you just made your way to where you want to be, you can enjoy a few moments here. This can be very intense for the legs, the hips, the ankles. So if you do want to move out of this at any time, you could always send your legs out long. Maybe make a diamond shape with your legs again. But let's just find our breath. Close your eyes. Relaxing through your body. Continuing to let go of your day. Taking another breath or two wherever you happen to be right now. If you're laying down, you've got a bigger journey to make to come all the way back up. But if you are still sitting on your heels, between your heels, on your knees, tabletop, maybe even downward facing dog. If you've got blocks on your mat, you can move them to the side. Maybe you just want to extend one leg at a time, staying in tabletop. Moving in any way that you need to move. How are your knees, your ankles, your hips? Eventually, we will be crossing our ankles and sitting down. Sending our legs out long in front. You might start to point your toes up, lengthening through your spine. Letting your shoulders fall from your ears. This might feel nice on the knees to lengthen through the legs again. And maybe you will add a tip forwards or just stay sitting tall. Take just one more breath and using an inhale to lift back up. If you're folding, you can bend your knees, give them a hug, maybe a gentle rock side to side. Laying on your back. When you're ready, maybe adding a gentle rock side to side. If your knees want to fall all the way over to the left for a twist, you can add that in. Letting an inhale, lift your legs up, twisting to the other side. And using an inhale to bring your legs back up one last time. Maybe hugging your knees back into your chest. A couple more rocks side to side if you'd like. Eventually, making your way into Shavasana. Whatever that is going to look like for you today. Is finding a place to spend these last few moments where you can relax through your entire body. And stay here for as long as you have time for. Thank you for joining me today. Enjoy the rest of your day. And until next time, namaste.